remember when I got in a fight with that vato in there.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, different. I love the school. I think, I have great memories of coming to school here. I graduated in 1974. And I always think that there's so many opportunities that we need to take, and that's what I was talking to the students earlier, that my motto is reject rejection.
Yeah, we actually wanted to ask questions about that.
Yeah, what inspired you to make that phrase?
Well, mostly that I was rejected a lot. Well, when you get into the creative field, and I've been a broadcaster, television broadcaster, a producer, I produce music videos, documentaries. You throw yourself into the public. I remember Miguel Mendez, who was a wonderful writer who wrote Peregrinos de Aztlán, the first old Spanish Chicano novel, told me one day, Raul, he was my teacher at the University of Arizona, grow thick skin, because when you're a performer, when you're doing things in the public, when you're throwing your ideas in front of hundreds of people every day, people are going to criticize you. People are going to reject you. So I came out with that about rejecting rejection when I was young here, because I felt the rejection. I am a first-generation immigrant. I came from Nogales. I spoke no English whatsoever. And picked it up pretty quick because I knew it was a necessity, but also picked up the idea of the opportunity that you can have to grow and be the best at whatever you do. So rejecting rejection is my way of saying I will not give up, I will triumph, I will be successful regardless of the odds.
Wow. Okay, so how did your adolescent years affect your upbringing?
Well, I mean, I think, Chicano families have great values. So, my mother was a very, very entrepreneurial woman. She worked very hard. My dad worked very hard. So they always instilled on us that we needed to do better than they did. And that meant in every aspect, spiritually, also professionally. I'm the first one to graduate from high school. I'm the first one to graduate from college. I'm the first one to open up my own business. I'm the first one to work internationally with a major television network. And so all those firsts helped me be first in, for example, being one of the founders of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, being one of the founders of Concerned Media Professionals, a journalist organization, being one of the founders and helpers of the Native American Chamber, and those kind of things. I always say occupy spaces that are empty. And I've always raised my hand. It's almost like that song, that says, "Put me in cold, I'm ready to play."
Earlier we heard you talking about your childhood and that you used to be a little troublemaker. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Me? Nah. Well, yeah. I grew up in South Tucson, and South Tucson is a wonderful place. Has a lot of values, has a lot of culture. I grew up with Tohono O'odhams, Yaquis, and Chicanos there. And when we bought our house, it was a $9,000 house. And within 3-6 months, we turned it into a $12,000 house.
Wow.
Because we put everything new, right? New tile. We did a new bathrooms, and my mom was always very much of a proud of ownership. But think about it. 7 years later, I bought a house that was $100,000, and it was a product of education. So yeah, I didn't want to say that I was a troublemaker. I think like many young people. I got into trouble because I spoke up. I got into trouble because I didn't fit in. I got into trouble because I was the first Chicano punk rocker of Pueblo High School. Because my mom loved to shop at Yellow Front, which is the equivalent of the dollar store.
Oh, yeah.
So the clothes were not the best, and so that was the trouble, getting in trouble because people made fun of you because you didn't speak English. Getting in trouble because people thought that you live in South Tucson and you were not as good as whoever else. But that's where the rejection comes through. So I had a very challenging adolescence, and many people have said, man, you were going fast to Florence, and then you did a U-turn at the casino ballroom and you never looked back. And that's the way it is. I remember getting into a big fight where there was hundreds of people fighting, and that day I decided that I had to turn myself around. I just couldn't couldn't do those kind of things. So coming from almost subcultural lack of opportunity to saying, I'm going to hang out with people who are successful. And I always say that if you hang out with 9 people who are troublemakers, who are doing drugs, who are not, they don't see their future, you're going to be the number 10. And if you hang around with 9 people who have aspiration, inspiration, who want to work hard, who are focused in their future, who's saying, I'm not going to be here forever. I always say you're going to be a number 10 person that is successful. And I always say that also that, I've been broke, but I've never been poor. Because poor is being poor of spirit, poor of not having any ganas. Poor is not, wanting to have, give yourself into the struggle and give yourself fully into community service and see how can I help? What can I do? Put me in cold. I'm ready to play. And being broke is just an economic situation. So I've been broke, but I've never been poor.
Okay, so let me see the question on that board real quick. What advice would you give students that are in somewhat bad situations?
Well, obviously the first thing is that you have to stop, turning yourself into the cycle. I think getting out of the cycle is important. If you're in a cycle of violence, you gotta step out. If you're in a cycle of drugs, you gotta step out. If you're in a cycle of poverty, you have to step out. I always say the man can set your wage, but you can set the money that you earn. I mean, because you can always get 2, 3 jobs. I worked 3 jobs when I went to the U of A. I worked graveyard at Denny's as a cook and as a dishwasher and busboy when I was here at Pueblo, because they will say, well, the only job that you can get is working graveyard. I'll take it. 11 to 6 in the morning. I worked like that for 3 years until I graduated. And I graduated top of my class. So there is no excuses. I graduated in the top 10, if I recall. Maybe I was 11. Anyway, I don't know. But the whole point is that, your present situation should not dictate your future. So step out a little bit and say, si me estoy peleando con mi mamá todos los días, si me estoy peleando con mi papá, si tenemos broncas de diferentes económicas, whatever, tienes que hacer un esfuerzo para cambiar. And change is difficult, but it only comes when you screechingly stop and say, this is not how I want to live. And then you say, this is how I want to live. There's a Spanish saying that says, la vida buena es cara. Hay otra vida, pero esa no es vida. So there's a life out there. The great life is expensive. The good life is expensive. There's another life, but that's not a life. And I think those are the kind of affirmations that you need to work on. And it's not just materially, spiritually. If you're doing well within yourselves, if you're being healthy, you're going to be successful, because success comes in different ways. It's about being happy. It's about being fulfilled. It's about doing the things that you want to do. Somebody asked me earlier, do you have any regrets about not doing the things that you wanted to do? And I said, honestly, I've done everything, literally everything that I wanted to do, that I planned, that I said, I want to own a television station, and I did. I want to work with a newspaper that I'm part owner, I did. I want to travel the world and be the best international reporter, producer for Spanish language, I did. And I want to have 9 children, I did.
9?
Yes, I have 7 girls and 2 boys. They're all wonderful. They're amazing. They work very hard. They have a very strong spirit, and it's a challenge. So for all of you familias grandes, I know it's a challenge, but we need to stay involved. We need to work with them every day. We need to put our iPhones down and talk to each other. I just read that 57% of the demographic of 18 to 35, in that demographic, they spend more time texting than talking to each other. 57% text more than they ever talk to another human being. So you guys, my other advice, start talking. Communication is great. Make sure that you look at somebody in the eye. Take the time to converse and have a good conversation with somebody every day that is aspirational, that is going to help you do things and be whole in your spirit.
Okay, so that was all the questions we had for you. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so
You do
much.
a great job, and go Warriors, and si se puede, yes, it can be done. Together, unidos, and also thinking about the future. Remember, focus. That way when opportunities come to you, they don't come to you as problems, they come as challenges that you can fulfill for a better life.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
De nada.